I would like to ask you the first time you remember seeing Alien, the first one, the first round.
We just realized that we were both 13.
Yeah.
In different countries,
That's
though,
right.
in different
Different
situations,
years.
different
You're
years.
younger than me, of course.
I am, but so I was 13, and it blew me away. I was almost obsessed with, you know, Sigourney's performance, and it was just breathtaking. It was so different from everything I've seen, and Ridley, you know, the world he created and the character he created with, you know, and her doing it was just I think it actually changed something in me and gave me hope about, you know, acting and you know, kind of I connected with my dream again to become an actress.
But then I have to ask you then, because it made such an impression, and now you're playing a role in a film that is kind of based with aliens, what is your obstacle to make sure that you're not going to give a Sigourney performance? You know what I mean? It's just like, there must be something that you have to kind of...
I don't think, I never see that as a danger. I don't see it, you know, from that point of view in a way, because I know that I need to run this character through my body and through my own kind of veins and use my own life, and then it's not going to be even close to what she did, because she said, you know, she's not me. So I'm not afraid of that, and I never really compare myself to other people like that.
And
from you, Michael, the first time you saw it, and then how it's kind of now being on a film like this, how you kind of.
Well, you know, again, I was 13. I'm pretty sure when I saw it. And what sort of struck me then, obviously, easier to sort of buy into a film maybe at that age than you would be in later years, but still to this day, you don't ever question anything that's happening in the film. Insofar as, I mean, that we're in the future, we're on a spaceship, all these sort of fantastical things are happening, but it seems totally logical and believable. And so you forget you're actually watching a sci-fi film in a way, or, you know, a futuristic film. And I had the same with Blade Runner and the experience in that. It was just like, yeah, of course, this is the future. So, you know, to sort of get an opportunity to re-enter that world with Ridley was just, you know, very exciting. And the rest of your question, I can't remember.
That sounds
That's
good.
it,
Yes, I like that. The end. No. You have an amazing scene in this film. I don't want to give any spoilers, but that sequence is really crazy. I mean, and I think the room reacted in a way that was very visceral. And so can you maybe talk about shooting? Oh, how do we do this? How do we do this without giving a spoiler away?
Yeah, okay. It's probably, it was my worst nightmare. You know, it was kind of, and it really, the things that happens to her, what she kind of has to force herself to go through, it's really like the worst thing I can imagine. And it really affected me. I was a mess. I remember that my dreams were really disturbed, and I couldn't, it was like my whole life was kind of under control. I was not in control, and I kind of felt like I'm losing it. Oh my God, I'm really losing it now, because I felt like I was just a meltdown. And so it was quite strong, and a quite strong experience. And that sequence kind of started with the scene we do together when you're telling me, when you're kind of giving me this information. And that's, from that point, it's kind of like a long run of, you know, trying to just find a way up to the surface and not drown.
We're never quite sure if you're a good or a bad person.
Me neither.
And so to play to play that, then, you know, it must be really fun, because then you don't make a decision, so therefore it kind of is vague throughout the whole film. You know?
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I'm going to do everything that way from now on. No, yeah, it's exactly that. There's no real commitment on either side. Nothing's clear cut. And that was, you know, something that Ridley and I discussed right at the beginning. That's what he wanted, and that's what I thought to be interesting as well. It's like, you know, he's a question mark. But, you know, essentially he's just there to garner information, gather information, and to process it. That's what he's all about. And then, you know, he might get a little bit of pleasure out of this and that in a way, or maybe some human personality traits are going on in there.
Now, we talk about the film and the acting and stuff. There must be a moment where you geeked out. There has to be a moment where you walked on set and you're like, you know, that inside, like, 10-year-old kid just like, oh my God. Like, so do you remember that moment for you, and how was it around anybody?
I remember Ridley came to me at one point and he was like, come on, dude, I'm going to show you something. And then he was like, and we stepped into the James Bond stage, and he showed me the room with the head, you know, with the big head. It was the first time I stepped into that room, and I was just like, I was in awe, and I got tears in my eyes. It sounds really kind of silly, but I was completely captured, because it didn't look like anything else I've seen, and that's so incredible with Ridley, that he creates. It's like this cruel kind of beauty, and it's quite striking. It's very powerful.
Yeah. Well, for me, it was like at the beginning of shooting, we did all the sort of David on the ship, you know, sort of doing his butler thing. And like, you know, I was just walking around this spaceship, and I was like, oh, this is like, you know, I felt like, you know, I was in a spaceship, and also in the 70s. It was kind of weird. I was like, you know, and that is a sort of pinch yourself moment, and there was quite a few of those. Because, you know, it all came at once. You know, the first week, kind of nervous, you know, the fact that I was sort of on this spaceship, and the captain's Ridley Scott, you know, it's
But it really felt like you were kind of searching. It was like, oh, you were on some kind of journey. I remember you were talking about, you know, accents, and how does he, because he is a computer in a way, and he can do anything and everything in a way. I remember you were trying different...
I had the South African accent for a while.
That was very funny.
Ridley allowed me to do it. I remember I came on set, and I was like, oh, I was thinking about doing him in Afrikaans, and he was like, and I was like, no, I'm serious. And I could see like the fear in his eyes. He was like, shit, I'm gonna have to deal with this actor
now. And then
now.
You know what he knew then? He's like, interesting. When he says interesting, you know, he thinks it's a bad idea. He's like, interesting.
He's like, I've got 1,000,001 things on my plate. Now this actor's just come up with the idea of doing this thing in Afrikaans. Anyway, let me do it for a week. I did 2 versions. I did a version you got in the Afrikaans, and then at the end of that, I was like, I should get rid of the South African. He was like, yeah. And I was like, okay.